Hello and welcome to this yet another interview with Rachel Pope. She is the author of, ah, that's my ring light, Gifts from Grief, A Journey Back Home, a very, very beautiful and very special book in my journey as a coach, as a book coach as well. So welcome, Rachel. Hello.
Thank you, Shilpa. Hi, thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming and for sharing your story already. How are you doing?
I'm great, thank you. Yes, here on the sunny coast. We live in a beautiful part of the world.
Yeah, it's looking quite nice and bright. So
Mhm.
let's get started, Rachel. I just wanted to, hear your story in your own words. But before that, I just want to introduce, read a little bit of, your blurb. And the unique thing about Rachel's idea about the whole, approaching grief therapy, grief recovery is lifting the lid. And her book says, let's lift the lid on grief, one conversation at a time. So at 17, Rachel Pope lost her dad, aged 47, to cancer, and 8 years later, her eldest brother in a tragic car accident. Little did she know that her grief journey would come full circle with the death of her husband at the same age and from the same cancer as her dad, and their children were 6 and 4 years old then. You have come a long way. We were just talking. Amelia, your eldest, is 18 now, isn't it? Yeah.
And my
It's
son
been,
is 16, yes.
yeah. So it's been a long journey, and of course, your journey is about grief. Do you want to tell us when did you start thinking about writing this book? Or, like when was the point
Mm.
when you thought, I can do it and I will do it?
Mm. I think 2016 was an important date. I'd been working so hard and I'd been running a franchise. I owned a business when my husband passed, the Jimbaroo franchise. And as a sole operator, there's a lot of behind the scenes, and I just really felt burnt out there. I had been putting on the Be Strong mask for a few years
Mm,
after Ray passed away, and the kids were young, and even though I had enormous support from my family and friends, I just felt like I can't do this anymore. And I went on a retreat to Fiji, actually, that was, just something for me. I'd never been away from my children for that long. It was a week-long retreat with some beautiful women. And I started to think, gosh, there's got to be some purpose behind all of this pain and things that I've experienced. And not only as a cathartic journey for me, how can I come out of this? And I knew that being strong wasn't really teaching my kids, not showing my emotions and putting on that mask and just falling in a heap in under the cover of darkness at night, going, I can't do this. I'm surviving. I'm not thriving. And I think that retreat just allowed, we explored goals and purpose and
mm,
things around, why are we here and what's your soul calling to. And I just thought, I need to start writing about this. I had no idea how or,
mm,
that was going to happen. And with that, I sold my business and I just went back to working part time in retail and just to have a break and a breather from running my business on my own. And I just started writing posts really on an Instagram account. So I thought I created that community, and I remember that day making it public, thinking, how is this going to be received after all these years? There's this perception around widows, and aren't you over it yet? It's been several years, and why are you bringing this all up again? And with that account, it just was really on social media was really well received, and I started receiving just beautiful messages and feedback from people all over saying this really speaks to me and I'm in a similar situation. And the more I wrote just sort of long form posts and things, I thought, well, there's something in this. Maybe I need to write some more. And mainly, I think, Shilpa, was when I went looking for resources around grief and loss, I couldn't find anything. I read a lot of books and
yeah.
different therapies, and I couldn't really find something that spoke to me about gratitude. And me, that's kind of at
Yeah.
my core all through my life of just growing up with my parents and my brother, who was had a disability and was wheelchair bound, and as a family we had a different perspective on life already. And I thought everyone, turned to me and used to say, I don't know how you're doing this and why are you so positive all the time, and are you really grieving? And I'm like, no, well, this is me. I need to uncover these gifts of my journey, and the gifts that these three amazing men that I had in my life also gave to me. And I couldn't find anything that really spoke to me on the shelf, so I decided to write it myself.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's so good. And I know how, it can feel really empty when you're looking for, some guidance that really talks to you, that's very specific, very relevant to you, right? Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. So can you tell us a little bit about, what Gifts for Grief stands for, and what insights people would find in the book?
Yeah, firstly, I wanted a book that in grief, it's really hard to read, right? It's really hard to concentrate. You do have this fog, it's called grief
Mm-hmm.
fog, where
Mm-hmm.
you can't really watch a movie from beginning to end, especially in those early years. And so I wanted something that somebody could just open up anywhere, that it wasn't this task or feel overwhelming that I have to read this book from beginning to end to receive the benefits of
Yeah.
it. And so when, further down, when we got chatting about the chapters, I knew that gratitude, growth, and perspective were the top three kind of core values of mine in my grief that was helping me move forward and not move on, but to honor my grief and to remember these people and to keep talking about them. So I knew that those were the core chapters. And then sort of I thought, well, there's three gifts there. Maybe I can come up with some more gifts. And yeah, even coming up with the title was, perceived of, well, where's the gift in grief?
Yeah.
So it
Yeah.
still to this day gets a little bit of, makes people sort of wonder.
Mm.
And so the gift just then unfolded. I thought about these special people and my dad and what gift did he give me, and my brother, that gift of perspective, and for Ray, the gift of adventure and spontaneity and resilience and all these things that we eventually narrowed it down to the 12. And then there's a bonus chapter at the end with how to help a friend, because that's, the most common question I get in my inbox is, how do I help my friends in their time of grief? Because we're not taught that. So I thought that was very important to add that in as well.
Yeah. And I want to say, the thing that, stands out, and I will never forget about your book, is, the concept of lifting the lid, right? And I think I still sometimes have hesitated, like, I have a friend who, who went through stillbirth, right? And we had a very beautiful baby shower and all for her. And, the baby had a name, but it's how the society is built, right? It's how we're all conditioned. I've learned it from you and through, in your writing journey, to take their name, but it's still so sensitive. Will they appreciate me taking her name? Or, but still knowing that that's taking their name is a way of keeping them alive, right? Like,
Mm. Definitely something I'm so passionate about. It's, why is it the most least talked about topic when every single one of us on planet Earth will go through it at some stage or another, whether that, in all forms of loss, whether that be in pregnancy loss or child loss or just, divorce, any kind of loss, financial loss of a business, loss of identity, loss of innocence with abuse and things like that. I talk about all kinds of loss because to many people, grief is just death, and so there's a lot of unrecognized and not honored losses that people go through, and they feel they can't talk about it. So yeah, lifting the lid was just seemed appropriate. Let's start having these courageous conversations. Let's support each other and talk about it. And you will never meet a griever who says, no, I don't want to talk about that in a safe space, because that allows them to process those emotions and sort of move towards a healthier way of grieving rather than pushing it under the carpet, which is what we're taught to get on with it, keep busy, be strong, you know, grieve alone. And that's why grievers feel so isolated. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, you know, what just came up for me is there's a fine line between the sacredness of grief and isolation, right? Like, yes, grief is sacred. I think, you know, you don't want to share like the entirety of that emotion with the public, right? It's your
Yeah.
space. It's your relationship that you still hold on to with them. But yeah, but you also don't want to just be crying or, you know, just feeling lonely and isolated.
Mm.
Yeah, we can keep on going on about this for so long. So, what do you hope the book is going to do, Rachel? And you know, who do you hope it's going to touch? Um, who do you want to discover the book?
Firstly, you know, when I met you and we discovered that, I think I said to you, you know, my hope is for me, it was a journey for me as well, just a healing journey for me to be able to do that. And then I think I said, you know, if it just lands on one heart in need, then I will feel accomplished, you know, just writing this.
Yeah.
If one person reads this and they feel less alone in their grief, then I will feel like I've achieved something. Little did I know that it would, you know, reach so many more people all around the world. My hope is that, yeah, for that somebody who picks it up just feels less alone in their grief and also is given some tools, because that was important to me to include that in the book. And at the back, there's, you know, sections for journaling and writing and prompting, so that, you know, I felt a lot of books weren't action-based. They weren't giving me any tools. It was, you know, talking about the stages, which is a big myth. You know, those stages were written for someone with a terminal diagnosis. They are not the stages of grief. And so I wanted to debunk a lot of myths and misconceptions around grief from my own personal journey, but also from what I had learned through different therapies as well. And so my hope is that, you know, when someone picks it up, they feel less alone, but they also feel hope. You know, for me, it was all about latching onto somebody that was just a few more years further down the track than me. And that's what gives us hope, right? No matter what we're going through, whether it be raising young children or, you know, in a fitness journey or whatever we're embarking on, I think if you find somebody that can give you a little bit of hope and say, well, she's doing okay, you know, I know that's not me right now, but I see a glimmer of hope of where my life is moving towards. And, you know, my biggest passion with the book is that people will receive my journey as, you know, wholehearted living beyond loss, that we still can live wholeheartedly and honour our grief, that they can exist side by side, that grief will never go away, but we still need to live, and that's why we're still here. And so life is short, as everybody knows, and nobody's guaranteed tomorrow. And so how do we live wholeheartedly? I'm just very passionate about that.
Yeah, it's, you know, when I see your posts about Ray's birthday or the kids' birthdays, and, you know, like, I think very few posts of yours are without family photos, right? And every time I see that, I'm thinking, like, my heart breaks a little bit. I'm thinking, how's this woman still pushing through? But, you know, I think with all your tools, and I remember in our very first conversation when we were just exploring working together, you said the words, "I'm still standing." And that might be for a reason. So I want to put it to good use. And also, one thing I want to highlight here, I can't find the page, otherwise I would have shown it. But there's this thing you've written in your book. There are 3 stages of grief. There is no stage, there is no stage, there is no stage, you know. So yeah, I think your work has already, like, you know, how many years ago did we write the book? It was 4 years ago, and those key messages have stayed with me. So yeah, I think you know, through your journey and sharing your book and your posts, you are creating a future possibility for someone who's going through hard times, you know, that right now I really can't see how I will ever be there, but maybe someday, you know. So what's some feedback that you've received on your book? How's the journey been? You know, it's a lot of copies have sold, right? Worldwide.
Mhm.
There isn't a continent you have not touched. Um, yeah. So tell me all about the feedback.
I think mainly is that, yeah, that first thing, you know, when people say, oh, your book is speaking to me, or thank you so much for sharing, because I didn't realize what else I had been through when we talk about other kinds of losses, and they don't recognize that often our grief can be magnified if we don't go back and heal some previous losses. And that
Yeah.
journey for me, losing my husband, that full circle, I realized I hadn't processed and dealt and healed from previous losses, and therefore this grief was even more magnified because it was everything else was bubbling up to the surface. So,
Yeah.
you know, feedback around that about, you know, thank you for touching on all of these other types of losses, because now I understand, you know, what I've been through. And I think also people who have gifted it to a friend, you know, just as a resource there. I've had a lot of people just buy my book because they want to do something for a friend and they don't know what to do. And so they can just hand them this and say, you may not be ready to read this, but I've heard about this lady and I follow her, and I just really feel that, you know, you might relate. So here's just one small gesture that I can, you know, gift to you. So I do sell a lot of my books for people who are giving them as gifts, most of all, because they just want to say, you know, I'm thinking of you and I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say, but,
Yeah.
you know, here's a resource for you that you may or may not, you know, find helpful.
Yeah.
So I love that feedback, because, and then I'll meet people and go, oh yeah, my friend gave me your book. And, you know, I just loved it. And so, yeah, that warms my heart.
Yeah. I think you know, there's nowhere to praise than someone else vouching for you, right? Like when someone's buying it for themselves, that's one thing, but when someone's buying it to gift it to someone else, they're even more careful. So yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
Mm.
amazing. Um, so do you want to tell me a little bit about how you experienced the process of the writing, the publishing, the support? Um, yeah, basically, how was it working with you?
Well, you know that when we first met, I had no clue. And I was like, I've never written longer than, you know, a post or something like that. I hadn't written any articles. I didn't consider myself a writer. But I just knew that if I had someone that could support me speaking from the heart, I knew that I could speak from the heart. I knew that everything that I was saying was authentic. And I just didn't know how to put that together. And so I knew I needed help for a start. Stumbled across you, and we arranged that first messenger chat. And
Yeah.
yeah, I just felt like you saw it straight away. You saw the bigger picture and you were like, wow, this is going to help so many people. I've not heard this, you know, someone doing this before. And so I think initially just having that belief from you was really encouraging to say, yeah, I can do this. And then further down the track, you know, we stumbled across a lot of things with my writing, and trying to sit down and have those coherent thoughts. And I just had, you know, when you've got a whole lifetime of thoughts and stories and things
Yeah.
in your head, it can get overwhelming. So what I love the most about my journey working with you was your ability to collect all those thoughts and say, let's not get overwhelmed with the rest of the chapters. Let's just start from here.
Yeah.
And your formula, that formula for a chapter, you know, I could see it straight away. I could see how I could collect my thoughts. But most of all, I definitely, when I talk about you and to others who are thinking about writing a book, is that process of recording and voice to
Yeah.
recording was suited me so much, because I could talk, I could express my feelings. And so what do you call that? I've just
So, you
lost
know,
the,
yeah, I haven't done that in quite a while now, but I think, you know,
it just worked for
it's just
me.
what I
Yeah.
felt I needed to do for you. And there's another beautiful client of
Mm.
mine who wrote a book on PTSD. So these were like
Mhm.
really heavy emotional stories. And what we did was we went interview style rather than you speaking
Yes.
slow. But we also, like, the interview was backed with solid structure. So, you did a lot of
Yes.
homework. You mapped out, there was the whole ton of bullet points and speaking prompts, and we kind of got
Then it was
on
transcribed.
Zoom.
That's what I was thinking of, the
Yes,
word transcribed. Yeah.
yes.
Yeah,
And
and it was, but those point forms and that structure was really,
yeah.
yeah, it really made sense to me then. I could see it all sort of unfold, and there's
Yeah.
no way I would have been able to do that on my own, to collect all of that. And even just the positioning of the chapters and it flowing and working out where each of the gifts sat and the
Yeah.
quotes, you being able to include those quotes in between from my previous work. I had so much,
Show this,
already.
know.
Yeah.
So each of Rachel's chapters starts with, a very punchy quote in the specific font. I think was Amelia designing it for you?
I can't
Yeah.
remember.
Yeah, so
Mm.
I think Amelia or someone helped you design these quotes. So this
Oh,
one is
yes,
about
Amelia. Yes, yes,
this
that's it.
one was
Yeah.
about perspective. So, it's about what you focus on. Life is good. Life is good. Life is good. Um,
Mhm.
so yeah, I'm hustling in the background to find that very powerful, there is no stage, there is no stage, there is no stage. It's just, but
Mhm.
yeah, so we did endeavor, I think, designing a pretty book along with along with the quality content is
Yeah, and just the editing process, the back and forth, that being so
yeah.
busy I felt just so supported by you with time, and there was no pressure there or deadline. We
Yeah.
had a deadline, but we went
Yes.
over a bit. But I just felt supported there, that I didn't want to rush this,
Yeah.
and at times that I did feel overwhelmed, you definitely brought it back to some simple, actionable tasks. And yeah, I'm a visual person, so those quotes were important, but also the cover design, like how long did
Oh,
that take us? Quite a while.
I know.
But,
So,
how beautiful is the
Rachel,
finished product? Like,
if
we just,
yeah, can
I
you
get so many
can you
comments on
this?
that cover.
Yeah. So this is, yeah, if you ever want to find Rachel, you'll find her at a beach, somewhere on a
Yes.
beach. And that's what, this cover signifies. And she was very particular about the blue. Is it called a Rapha?
Yeah,
Rapha,
for the
right?
bow.
Yeah.
Yeah, just that ocean
So,
inspired, but also I wanted it to look like a gift. And oh my
yes,
gosh, I'm just
you
so
know,
happy with the finished product.
I
It's
know.
amazing.
It literally looks like
Mm.
it's a very 3D kind of a effect. So quite proud of that.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's really amazing how
Mm.
you brought all that back. I think I can, with confidence, I can vouch for myself. Um, I do like, I think being a perfectionist can be a bit of a pain for yourself, but in the long run, it pays off, and I wouldn't want to, yes, honestly, humanly, there are still some typo errors here or there, but we've done a very, very amazing job at editing and tidying up the book.
Mm.
Yeah. So, do you want to share where people can buy your book? Of course, it's on Amazon
Yes,
and
so
all the portals, but do you have a private link where you prefer
yeah,
they could get a signed copy or something?
for Australia and New Zealand, giftsfromgrief.com.au, or on my Gifts from Grief Facebook and Instagram, Gifts from Grief, you'll find the link to purchase there. Outside of Australia, on all the platforms, Amazon, Booktopia, and all of those. And it also, you helped me bring it to Audible
Oh, yeah.
year before
Thank
last.
you. This
So
happened with
yes,
another
let's
client. We
not
forgot
forget
to
that.
mention in the Audible. So
Yeah.
her book is
So
also
that was,
on Audible.
that was just the final step for my journey to bring that to Audible, so it's available on there as well. And yeah, it's locally, I speak at different events and things, and have the book available for purchase at my workshops and all of that. And people get gifted a copy if they do one of my grief recovery programs, which I do worldwide via Zoom. It's a 7-week grief recovery program where I walk people through that process, giving them the tools and action steps to, heal beyond the pain of grief and loss. And then my book is kind of the follow-up to that they can then take that and start to look with gratitude within their story and give them some tools to find some purpose for themselves. So, but yeah, available giftsfromgrief.com.au or find me on Facebook. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I think I
Instagram,
would
LinkedIn.
highly recommend that. Do get in touch with her directly to order her book, and you can get a signed copy and you can get some, extra resources. Just get in touch with her. Um, yeah, you're doing
Thank
some
you.
amazing work, Rachel. It's really not easy. Like, sometimes yeah, it just I don't know. I fail at kind of comprehending how you're going ahead, going on with life and happily. Um, Especially like, now I'm a mom of two, and I feel it deeply how important it is to share these milestones with my partner, right? With my husband. So yeah. You're
Thank
just
you. I call
fantastic.
them those in the book, I call them those happy, sad moments, where you're
Yeah,
so happy for that milestone that they reach, but you're sad that they're not there to witness that.
yeah,
My son's just learning to drive and you think that should be his role,
yeah,
as a father to teach him to drive. And there's so many other qualities that, that we've grown together as our tight knit little family, to see them grow and become beautiful young adults
yeah,
is just so rewarding. But I talk about him all the time, and I think that's part of that honoring journey that a lot of people may feel afraid to do because they're afraid of how that's perceived. They're afraid, especially widows, putting up posts of their husbands and people saying, oh, gosh, you're still posting about that. But we would
yeah.
never ask of somebody to stop posting about their mother, right? If they lost their mother,
That's it.
and honored them with photos, you wouldn't
Yeah,
say, oh, take that photo down, or why have you still got photos of your mother in your house? Or, so I still have wedding
yeah,
photos of myself and Ray, because it's important that, he's our children's father and a significant part of my life.
yeah.
So I will continue to do that. And so I hope that by doing that, I make other people feel that it's okay and that they can put those blinkers on and listen to themselves. And some people may not want to do that either. There's no right or wrong. It's just how
Yeah,
I choose
yeah,
to. But I want to be supportive there to people who are feeling they can't,
that's it.
because they're afraid.
Yeah,
And just by doing that one thing is healing in itself for them to go, oh, I'm going to speak his name or her name and I'm going to honor that. And so I always, finish off those posts with remember, honor, live, repeat. It's
yeah,
important to remember, it's
yeah,
important to honor it, but don't forget to live. And that's the part that I, bring to my programs and my book, is that you are still here for a reason. And yes, you're going to have bad days. And it's not all sunshine and rainbows here either. I still, go
totally.
through that process, but I allow it. Previously, I would not have done that if it wasn't for writing this book and seeing,
Yeah,
the rewards of helping somebody else through that journey is so rewarding. When I hear those reviews on my book or I hear some people talk about it, that's so rewarding. And teaching them that it's okay, to have those days. It's just that I want to be that hope that we don't have to stay there too long and that we still need to live our life and honor. By living our best life, we are honoring them as well, because
totally.
people
Yeah,
hear that, or they wouldn't want you to be there, so they wouldn't want you to, but that's not helpful. It's we still need to honor our grief, and that's the most important part, to allow that to happen, but then pick ourselves up and decide what we want to do with our lives and how we're going to be remembered. I want to be remembered as that person who made an impact on others
yeah,
and made an impact on my children's life and led by example to live, as best I can. We can always only do the best we can with what we have in that time, and there are seasons for that. But that's life. We all go through that, right?
true, true. Yeah, beautiful. I mean, I can keep on listening to you. I'm going to ask you one last question, right? So this interview is probably going to be watched by those who are on the fence. They are Yeah, similar situation as you said. You wanted to write something, but you didn't know yet if you can pull off an entire book. What do you want to tell them? And also what have you experienced as a reward, in the
Mm.
process or as a result of writing your book?
Yeah, I love that question. I think most of all, Shilpa, is that your story is worthy of being heard. You know, some
Yeah,
people can feel victims with whatever industry they're in, whatever their expertise is, that they can help somebody else, that there are people out there who want to hear your story. And
yeah,
my book is not for everybody. There are other books that people will find you because they relate to you.
yeah,
And so as a young widow, I had people relate to me because there was only resources and groups out there for over 60s and widows.
yeah,
And I needed that. I wanted to write something that I needed. And so for them, whoever you are and whatever your expertise is, whatever your story is, there is somebody out there who needs to hear it.
yeah,
And even if that's just one person, which I can assure you it won't be,
yeah,
they need to hear it. Your story is worthy of being shared. And you encourage me to just not play that small, to play that big and go, yes,
yeah,
my story is worthy of being shared and it will help so many people. And the rewards came, after, not only just the reward of the book launch and the excitement of that, to go, yay, I
yeah,
finally did it. Like, that feeling is
yeah.
amazing. And you even flew up
I know,
to my
yeah.
book launch in
Yes, I
Brisbane. It was
did.
so special. And, that feeling is on top of the world. And it's helped me in so many other ways, not just in that reward of sharing and helping other people, but that authority to say that, yeah, hey, I am an expert in my field. I am
Yeah,
somebody who's speaking from experience, lived experience. And that's where impact is felt the most, right, from others, is when they read. That's why people love autobiographies of celebrities and things, because
yeah,
they read their backstory and they go, wow, they went through all of this. They're not just, there's someone up on a pedestal. They've
yeah,
lived a life. And we want to hear that because it's relatable. People want to hear your story because it's relatable. And then the expertise after that, from having have that book in your hand to say, yeah, this is my business card, this is my story,
yeah,
then people will come to you because they want more. So I just
yeah.
encourage you, if you are sitting on that fence, that your story is worthy of being heard and your expertise in whatever field that is needed by somebody. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Perfect words. Perfect words. Thank you, Rachel.
Mm-hmm. You're
Yeah, look,
welcome.
I just want to wrap up with, big congrats again. You're continuing to do great work, and I hope, your message keeps on spreading. The ripples never stop. They never will. Um, yeah. And all the best to you, your family, your beautiful kids. Um,
Thank you.
yeah. Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you so much. I hope that, lots of people who listen will be inspired. And I'm just a normal person. As I said, I've never written anything before in my life, but you really helped me, see the bigger picture and to pull it all together. It was the best experience. I have nothing to say about it other than it was just so rewarding, and you are an authority in your field to
Thank
help
you.
people bring that to life. Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Rachel. Thanks, guys. And
Thanks,
if you're
Shilpa.
inspired, or if you need this book, just saying it again, visit giftsfromgrief.com.au, or get in touch with the same Gifts from Grief on Facebook or Insta, or connect with Rachel on Facebook or Insta.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank
Okay.
you.
See ya.
Thanks. All the best, Shilpa.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.